Welcome to the Deep Dive, the show where we cut through the noise and get straight to the insights that truly matter.
Glad to be here.
Today we're plunging deep into a story that really ripped through the headlines. And it continues to reshape our conversations about freedom, platforms, and, well, personal expression.
You're talking about Charlie Kirk.
Exactly. His tragic assassination on September 10th, 2025 at Utah Valley University. The news wasn't just reported, it reverberated across the nation like a shockwave. It prompted immediate and widespread bipartisan condemnation.
Yeah, that was striking, wasn't it?
We saw figures as politically diverse as Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, George W. Bush, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, all speaking out.
It really underscored just how profound the impact of this loss was, cutting right across the entire political spectrum.
Yeah.
What's truly striking there, right from the outset, is how an event of such raw tragedy can, maybe just for a fleeting moment, unify voices from traditionally opposing sides.
Even if only in shared condemnation of violence.
Right. It starkly highlighted the intense vulnerability of public figures in our, well, very polarized landscape. And it laid bare the deep societal tensions that can, and often do, surface in the most dramatic and, frankly, painful ways.
Indeed. And that's exactly our mission today. We're going to unpack the many layers of Charlie Kirk's fascinating life and impactful work.
Okay.
We'll delve into the harrowing circumstances surrounding his death and then critically examine the intense, often polarizing reactions that just flooded the public sphere in its wake.
But this isn't just about recounting events, is it?
No, not at all. We'll also explore the subsequent invigorated debates on free speech in America and, crucially, how this entire saga shines a spotlight on a growing, urgent push towards a very personal form of digital autonomy.
Right, taking back control.
To guide us, we've amassed a rich array of sources. We've got breaking news articles covering his life and death, official political party statements, insightful interviews, and even practical technical guides on how to build and maintain your own decentralized social networks.
You see, this deep dive isn't merely about one individual's story, as impactful as it is. It's really a window into the core principles, the profound challenges, and the emerging technologies that are collectively shaping how you express yourself and engage in this complex digital age. We're looking at how a singular narrative can illuminate much broader societal tensions around the very act of expression, the control wielded by platforms, and the ongoing foundational quest for true freedom in our increasingly interconnected world.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Our journey begins with the remarkable ascent of Charlie Kirk, a voice that from an exceptionally young age became a passionate, sometimes controversial, advocate for the principles of limited government and free markets.
A very young age.
Charlie Kirk, born in 1993, truly had an extraordinary trajectory. He wasn't even out of his teens when he plunged into conservative youth activism.
Yeah.
Co-founding Turning Point USA, or TPUSA, on June 5, 2012, at just 18 years old. He did this alongside Bill Montgomery.
18. That's incredible.
This wasn't some slow, gradual buildup. It was an immediate, impactful launch into a national movement.
It genuinely speaks to an innate drive and an entrepreneurial spirit that manifested incredibly early in his life, even before TPUSA.
Right.
At the tender age of 16 or 17, while still navigating high school in suburban Chicago, he exhibited that same distinctive energy. His very first recorded foray into political advocacy, believe it or not.
The cookies.
Yeah. Leading students against cookie inflation. Now, while that might sound almost whimsical to us today, protesting the rising price of cookies in his school cafeteria,
A little bit, yeah.
it was an early, clear indicator of his unique gift for organization, for identifying an issue, and for mobilizing people around a cause. It showed he wasn't afraid to challenge the status quo, even if that status quo was the cost of a snack.
That's a fantastic origin story, truly legendary in its own right, and it clearly foreshadowed his later success. Dr. Jordan B. Peterson, a figure who deeply influenced Kirk's intellectual development, actually spoke at length about this. Peterson described Kirk as someone who built the world's most influential organization of young conservatives, essentially from the ground up.
And without college, right.
And remarkably, without ever pursuing a traditional college degree. Here's where it gets really interesting and quite radical. A mentor, observing Kirk's early drive, recognized his entrepreneurial gift and skill. This mentor gave him truly unconventional advice. Create, not just find, to build, rather than simply follow the expected path of higher education.
Wow. That's not typical advice.
No. This guidance, as Peterson highlights, was profoundly influential, setting Kirk on a unique and ultimately impactful trajectory, directly into the arena of national discourse.
It's a powerful testament to the impact of unconventional thinking and, well, the courage to forge one's own path. Instead of adhering to a traditional academic route, Kirk leveraged his vision and raw drive to directly engage with the cultural and political landscape of his generation.
Yeah.
The founding principles of TPUSA were remarkably clear from the outset: to establish a grassroots student movement dedicated to promoting limited government, free markets, and the tenets of capitalism.
Big goals.
Their ambition was immense, aiming to reach over 1,000 campuses nationwide, primarily by educating students on fiscal responsibility and these core conservative values through what they termed nonpartisan debate, dialogue, and discussion.
Interesting phrasing. Nonpartisan.
Well, that was their stated aim. This was a mission to enlighten young people, not just to a political ideology, but to what Kirk believed were true free market values.
And their methods were just as distinctive and impactful as their mission statement. Kirk quickly became famous for his signature prove me wrong debates.
Right, the card tables.
Exactly. Imagine this scene. He wouldn't shy away from controversy, but lean into it. He'd set up simple card tables right there on college campuses like at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, often with a bold, attention-grabbing sign, perhaps something designed to provoke like, big government sucks.
Subtle.
He'd then engage left-leaning students in direct, unfiltered, and very public dialogue. It was raw, immediate, and a stark contrast to the more formal, structured debates you might typically expect.
Definitely. This approach, while sometimes seen as disruptive, allowed for direct, often passionate intellectual sparring. That direct, unvarnished approach was highly effective for fostering grassroots organization. TPUSA actively encouraged students to establish conservative clubs, building a robust network of student leaders.
So boots on the ground.
Exactly. These leaders were responsible for maintaining executive boards, submitting official charters, organizing various activism initiatives, and maintaining regular communication with TPUSA field representatives.
That sounds very organized.
It was, and this model wasn't about top-down control. It was a decentralized model of promotion, largely amplified through social media. This allowed them to draw massive crowds.
How massive?
Sometimes between 3,000 to 5,000 people. And not just students, but also non-campus attendees like welders, electricians, and plumbers.
Wow.
It demonstrated a unique ability to connect with a broader base, indicating a deep resonance beyond just the academic bubble.
What's truly fascinating is how that message and that unconventional style resonated so widely. Yet, you also mentioned that his approach wasn't always universally embraced, even within conservative circles.
That's right.
How did the more traditional conservative establishment view his methods? Did they find it perhaps a little too disruptive or unseemly?
That's a crucial observation, and it highlights a tension within the conservative movement itself. While Kirk drew massive crowds and built an incredibly effective grassroots organization, his unconventional, often direct, and sometimes overtly provocative approach was indeed viewed by some elements of the conservative establishment as unseemly. This traditional wing often favored a more academic, buttoned-down style. They believed in the importance of speaking properly, pursuing the highest education, and engaging through established institutions.
The old way.
Right. Kirk, by directly engaging on college quads with provocative signs and without a college degree himself, truly broke that mold. He challenged the perception of what a conservative leader should be, and for some, that was a bridge too far.
That's a powerful distinction, because technology provides the platform, but the human element is clearly where communities truly live or die.
Definitely.
This brings us to the nuances of Kirk's public discourse, which undeniably became central to the broader free speech debate that intensified after his passing. The Hays County Republican Party, for example, observed that Kirk, quote, believed deeply in the power of free speech and the importance of civil debate to spark new ideas and build real solutions.
So a focus on debate itself.
Yeah. He genuinely sought to create spaces for young people to respectfully challenge ideas, seeing it as the lifeblood of a vibrant society.
He absolutely did. However, to understand the full scope of Kirk's impact and the ensuing debates, we need to look at some of his more controversial statements, as highlighted by our sources. These comments often sparked intense disagreement, pushing the very boundaries of what constitutes free expression for many.
Okay, let's address those. It's important for context.
Right. For instance, Kirk openly opposed the landmark 1964 Civil Rights Act, controversially calling it a huge mistake.
Wow.
He also publicly endorsed the Great Replacement theory, alleging that various actors, sometimes explicitly cast as Jewish people, were attempting to replace America's white population with immigrants through demographic shifts.
That's highly charged territory.
Extremely. And his podcast became a platform for an array of highly contentious views. He hosted individuals on his show who, according to sources, function as a slavery apologist.
A slavery apologist.
Yes. And another guest who was critical of women's suffrage, claiming that after that, it all went downhill.
Right.
Furthermore, Kirk himself made comments questioning the brain power of prominent Black women like Joy Reid, Michelle Obama, Sheila Jackson Lee, and Ketanji Brown Jackson. He also unequivocally stated that there is no separation of church and state, referring to it as a fabrication.
Which, sources note, is factually incorrect.
Correct, based on established legal precedent. His views extended to criticisms of Islam, strong opposition to vaccine requirements, and even suggesting that doctors providing gender-affirming care should face Nuremberg-style trials.
Okay, so a wide range of really provocative statements.
Very provocative. And this is precisely where the tension lies, isn't it? The fundamental principle of free speech, as enshrined in our Constitution, versus the often deeply offensive content of specific speech.
Yeah.
As articulated in the article, Don't Shut Down Free Speech, Kirk's comments were indeed characterized as crude, callous, and offensive, but such is life in a free society.
That's quite a statement.
It is. The article makes a compelling argument against censorship, even of speech many find profoundly offensive, viewing such tolerance as absolutely essential to protect the very foundations of democracy.
So the argument is tolerate the offensive to protect the system.
Essentially, yes. The core idea is to preserve the freedom to deliberate on what fundamentally divides us, even if that means tolerating statements we find intensely disagreeable, to prevent a slide into authoritarianism.
It's a powerful and often uncomfortable truth about free societies, and it informed Kirk's own evolving mission, which he described as shifting from merely political to focusing on a broader cause within university campuses, culture, and information consumption itself.
Right, moving beyond just politics.
He aimed for nothing less than a new birth of freedom, a vision he deeply grounded in his Christian beliefs, seeing politics as an effect, not the ultimate cause of societal change.
A cultural focus.
This foundational shift truly informed his robust strategy of engagement and his unwavering commitment to an unreservedly open exchange of ideas, even, and perhaps especially, if those ideas were unpopular or challenged prevailing societal norms.
Now, we shift to the shopping event that tragically ended Charlie Kirk's life, and in doing so, profoundly intensified these very debates about free speech, the limits of tolerance, and the frightening realities of political polarization in modern America.
The day was September 10th, 2025. Charlie Kirk was scheduled for a public event at Utah Valley University in Orem, Utah.
Right.
What should have been another routine appearance for a prominent public figure instead spiraled into a national tragedy that sent shockwaves across the country. The details of his assassination are chilling, laid out meticulously by investigators. The suspect, Tyler Robinson, was captured on security footage arriving on campus in a gray Dodge Challenger at 8:29 a.m. Yeah. He then disappeared, changed clothes, and reappeared at 11:50 a.m. From there, he deliberately ascended a parking garage stairwell, meticulously positioning himself. By 12:22 p.m., he was on the roof of the Luce Center,
Overlooking the event.
directly overlooking the amphitheater where Kirk was speaking, setting the stage for the unthinkable.
This was undeniably a calculated and premeditated act. Governor Spencer Cox later issued a statement indicating that Robinson was deeply indoctrinated with leftist ideology.
Okay.
Cox further elaborated that Robinson's political views were very different from his conservative family, leading to the speculation that he may have been radicalized by unchecked internet culture.
The internet radicalization angle.
Exactly. Crucially, investigators interviewed Robinson's romantic partner, a transgender flatmate who fully cooperated with authorities.
That must have been difficult.
Absolutely. This individual turned over incriminating messages that detailed Robinson's plans to retrieve a rifle, and even confirmed that the bullets he intended to use were engraved.
Engraved bullets.
Yes. Later, the FBI confirmed Robinson's DNA was found on a screwdriver and the towel used to wrap the rifle, both recovered at the scene, cementing the evidence against him.
The aftermath, as we touched upon earlier, was immediate and deeply, deeply polarizing.
Understatement.
As we noted, there was widespread bipartisan condemnation of the shooting itself from prominent political figures across both Republican and Democratic parties, a rare moment of unity in the face of such horror.
Fleeting unity.
Fleeting, yeah. But beyond that initial shock, the reactions quickly splintered, transforming into fervent calls for retribution and even explicit censorship, fundamentally challenging the very notions of free expression.
Indeed. We witnessed far-right activists like Laura Loomer explicitly call for violence and revenge.
Oh, wow.
Even going so far as to publicly post identifying details of individuals perceived to be celebrating Kirk's death online, unleashing a wave of targeted harassment.
Flipboxing, essentially.
Essentially. In a disturbing parallel, an organization initially called Expose Charlie's Murderers and later rebranded as the Charlie Kirk Data Foundation actively engaged in collecting over 63,000 public comments related to Kirk's death, indicating the intense and often vengeful public scrutiny that followed.
63,000 comments. That's a lot of data collection.
It is, and the response from some political leaders was equally swift, and in many cases, severe. U.S. Representative Anna Paulina Luna called for social media platforms to immediately remove videos of the shooting.
Okay, that's perhaps understandable given the graphic nature.
Right, arguing for content moderation. But then Representative Randy Fine, strongly supported by figures like Elon Musk, announced plans to leverage congressional authority to compel tech companies to ban users who belittled the assassination.
Compel tech companies. That's a big step. Using state power.
A very big step. Secretary of State Marco Rubio went further, vowing to revoke visas for any foreigners found celebrating Kirk's death. While Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth stated that the Pentagon was actively tracking civilian and military employees who expressed critical views of Kirk, threatening them with potential punishment.
Tracking military and civilian employees for comments.
That was the statement. And Stephen Miller, then White House Deputy Chief of Staff, controversially claimed that Kirk's killing was due to an ideology at war with family and nature that inherently leads to violence, further politicizing the tragedy.
So a really intense top-down reaction pushing for consequences.
Absolutely. The consequences for online speech were stark and immediate, showcasing the power of public and corporate backlash. Numerous individuals faced severe repercussions for their comments, regardless of intent.
Like who? What kind of people?
Scores of educators, a Secret Service agent, a Washington Post opinion columnist, Karen Attitia.
A columnist.
Yes. A DC Comics creator, a Carolina Panthers employee, a NASDAQ climate advisor, and an NBA reporter were all either fired or suspended for negative comments or for mocking Kirk's death online.
That's a huge range of professions.
It is. An Illinois reporter even resigned after a suspension for what she described as a nonpartisan tribute to Kirk, underscoring the extreme sensitivity.
Even a tribute wasn't safe.
Apparently not in that case. Senator Ted Cruz personally took it upon himself to paint over anti-Charlie Kirk graffiti, while Texas Governor Greg Abbott publicly celebrated the expulsion and arrest of a student mocking Kirk's assassination at Texas Tech.
Celebrated it.
Pointedly using the internet acronym FFO, which stands for F around and find out, implying severe consequences for provocative actions.
That's strong language from a governor.
Very. Even the owners of Grooveberry's frozen yogurt, a local business, received death threats simply for honoring Kirk's legacy with stickers, demonstrating the pervasive and often violent nature of the public's emotional response.
Death threats over stickers. That's terrifying.
It is.
That's an overwhelming list of consequences, and it paints a vivid picture of extreme pressure and immediate career-altering repercussions.
Yeah.
It's almost hard to grasp the sheer scale of the fallout. What does this unprecedented wave of dismissals and threats reveal about the current tolerance for dissent, even perceived dissent, in our society?
It speaks volumes about a society on edge, doesn't it? Where the lines between offensive speech, hate speech, and merely politically inconvenient speech are becoming incredibly blurred.
And the consequences are fast.
Immediate and severe, often bypassing traditional legal processes entirely. This unprecedented wave of punitive actions across such diverse professional sectors reveals a chilling new reality.
Which is?
The battlefield for free speech has moved beyond government censorship to an intensely personal, professional, and even physical realm where online comments can instantly derail careers and threaten livelihoods. This makes the question of platform control not just about political expression, but about fundamental professional and personal security.
Yet, amidst this fervor and calls for retribution, there were also significant, if quieter, calls for de-escalation.
There were. Senator John Fetterman, for instance, urged Democrats to turn the temperature down and avoid inflammatory rhetoric, specifically advising against comparing figures like Donald Trump to Hitler, especially in the wake of such a volatile event.
A voice for calm amidst the storm.
A necessary one, perhaps. The tragedy also, unfortunately, became fertile ground for the rapid spread of misinformation and pernicious conspiracy theories.
That always seems to happen, doesn't it?
Sadly, yes. Before the suspect was even officially identified, false narratives quickly gained traction, falsely linking trans people to the shooting, citing individuals like Sky Valdez and a misidentified Michaela from Seattle.
That's awful, targeting innocent people.
It led to severe harassment and credible death threats against innocent people simply based on baseless online accusations. There was also the emergence of anti-Semitic conspiracy theories attempting to link Israel and Mossad to the event.
Oh, of course.
Claims that were forcefully and immediately rejected by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
And what about the psychological dimension to all of this? You mentioned Dr. Drew Pinsky's analysis.
Yes, Dr. Drew offered a compelling analysis. He suggested that the assassin, Tyler Robinson, might exhibit what are known as dark triad traits.
Which are?
Machiavellianism, characterized by manipulation and a cynical disregard for morality, narcissism, an excessive sense of self-importance and grandiosity, and psychopathy, marked by a profound lack of empathy and antisocial behavior.
A dangerous combination.
Extremely. Pinsky also highlighted how radicalization creates insulated bubbles, where individuals become completely unaware of the broader societal disgust at certain behaviors, leading them to dangerously misjudge public reaction to their own extreme views and actions.
They lose perspective entirely.
Completely. In terms of Kirk's immediate legacy and memorialization, his casket was transported with profound solemnity on Air Force Two, accompanied by Vice President J.D. Vance.
A state-level honor.
Yes. A memorial service was planned for September 21 at the State Farm Stadium in Arizona, a testament to his national prominence. Financially, his vision also found renewed and substantial support.
How so?
Lynn Fries, the widow of billionaire philanthropist Foster Fries, donated a staggering $1 million to TPUSA.
$1 million.
Citing her late husband's unwavering belief in Kirk's vision, which Foster had often remarked was the best investment he ever made.
Wow.
This tragic event, while ending a vibrant life, paradoxically catalyzed further investment and ignited an even more fervent debate around the very principles Kirk championed, freedom of speech, and the future of conservative youth activism.
This truly brings us to the core of what Charlie Kirk, through his life and tragic death, came to represent for many, the ongoing, complex, and often contentious battle for free speech in America.
It really does crystallize the issue.
The ideal of free speech, enshrined so powerfully in the U.S. Constitution's First Amendment, is something we often perceive as an absolute.
Yeah.
But our sources suggest a more nuanced and, frankly, challenging reality. That free speech isn't a universally beloved concept. It needs constant enforcement, precisely because, as one perspective puts it, most people in general do not support free speech when confronted with ideas they find offensive or threatening.
So it needs protection because it's unpopular sometimes.
That's the implication. Without robust constitutional protections, a default inclination towards censorship might prevail. Historically, this is largely referred to government intervention, of course.
That's a critical distinction that frequently gets lost in public discourse. We often conflate free speech with freedom from consequences, but they are fundamentally different.
Explain that difference.
Well, while the government generally cannot legally limit your speech, with very narrow exceptions like incitement to imminent lawless action, a standard set by Brandenburg v. Ohio, which famously superseded the earlier, broader shouting fire in a crowded theater standard from Schenck v. United States.
Right, the legal limits are nary.
Exactly, but social consequences are an entirely different matter. Losing friends, facing public disapproval, or even being fired from a job for what you say is, as one Reddit user pointed out, just part of life.
So, your boss can fire you for speech.
Absolutely. Your employer, for instance, has the legitimate right to practice their own freedom of association, which can absolutely include terminating an employee for speech deemed offensive or harmful to their business or values.
This takes us beyond just government censorship, though, and into the immense power held by private entities.
Definitely.
The discussion points directly to the powerful role of corporations. especially the monolithic social media giants that dominate our digital lives.
The platforms themselves.
These platforms wield immense power to limit or outright deny people their livelihoods or their public voice, a situation eerily reminiscent of the infamous 1950s Hollywood blacklists.
It's a modern blacklist potential.
In our modern digital age, losing access to your primary platform to make your voice heard, to engage, to build a business, to connect, can be just as impactful as any government censorship, effectively silencing individuals, albeit through private entities.
This profound complexity is starkly illuminated in the perceived partisan divides over support for free speech, a phenomenon particularly evident in a vigorous Reddit discussion titled CMV, Conservatives do not, in fact, support free speech any more than liberals do.
CMV changed my view. I know those threads. They get heated.
They do. This thread serves as a fascinating microcosm of our current societal discourse, where users from across the political spectrum argue passionately without either side claiming a definitive monopoly on the defense of free expression.
And it perfectly highlights how deeply divergent the understanding of free speech can truly be. For example, some participants argue against the notion of inherent conservative free speech support by pointing to numerous instances, such from the banning of books in libraries, everything from The Martian for its language, to age-appropriate sex ed books that acknowledge gay or transgender people, such as Genderqueer, or This Book is Gay.
The book bans, right.
They cite outrage over athletes kneeling during the national anthem, Elon Musk banning users who disagreed with him on Twitter, and Don't Say Gay or Stop Woke legislation, as well as anti-BDS laws that penalize those who boycott Israel.
Okay.
Even conservative subreddits are accused of banning opposing views, mirroring the very behaviors they often critique in liberal online spaces.
So the argument is hypocrisy on both sides.
That's one side of it. Conversely, arguments against liberal free speech support are equally fervent. These include accusations of liberals shutting down opposing opinions by labeling them hate speech or literal violence,
The hate speech label.
and equating mere disagreement to Hitler. Examples cited are new rules on subreddits like there was an attempt banning supporting apartheid or bootlicking cops, which some view as suppressing legitimate, if unpopular, viewpoints.
Policing specific opinions.
Further evidence is drawn from these significant and often costly protests on college campuses against conservative speakers like Ben Shapiro at UC Berkeley, which reportedly necessitated a staggering $600,000 in security measures,
$600 for security. Wow.
raising questions about academic freedom and the cost of allowing certain kinds of speech.
That's a major point, the cost.
A CMC survey was introduced into this discussion to try and quantify these divides, where only 31% of Democratic voters strongly agreed with the sentiment, I disapprove of what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it, a classic adage of free speech.
Only 31% compared
It's 51% of Republicans who expressed strong agreement. Now, it's really important to acknowledge that the survey itself was critiqued by some as too simplistic.
Yeah, those kinds of questions can be tricky.
Especially given the incredibly subjective nature of defining and interpreting what free speech truly means in practice.
And this leads us to a fascinating conceptual divide that underpins much of this debate. Some perspectives frame conservatives as having a freedom from mindset.
Freedom from, what does that mean?
A desire for freedom from objectionable speech, freedom from learning about LGBT issues, freedom from viewpoints they find objectionable or disruptive.
Okay.
This contrasts sharply with others' emphasis on freedom to express themselves, even if that expression is controversial or discomforting to some.
So freedom from certain things versus freedom to say certain things.
It's a fundamental difference in how freedom and its necessary boundaries are understood and prioritized by different segments of society.
That's a powerful and often overlooked distinction, and it naturally ties into a fascinating philosophical concept often debated in these contexts. Popper's paradox of tolerance.
Ah, yes, Popper.
What exactly is the core idea of that paradox, and why does it spark so much discussion?
Popper's paradox of tolerance, as extensively debated in our Reddit source, presents a profound ethical dilemma. Its core idea is that limitless tolerance, paradoxically, ultimately leads to the disappearance of tolerance itself.
Okay, unpack that.
In simpler terms, if a society tolerates intolerance without any limits, the intolerant elements within that society will eventually grow powerful enough to destroy the tolerant society itself, extinguishing all forms of tolerance.
So you can't tolerate intolerance indefinitely.
That's the argument. However, the paradox is also heavily criticized for being frequently misused, often to justify political violence, imprisonment, or the silencing of nuanced dissent by broadly labeling anything disagreeable as intolerance.
It gets weaponized.
It can be.
Yeah.
Some argue that tolerance is a truce, not an unconditional acceptance, and that a breach by one side, the act of intolerance, releases the other from that truce.
Complex.
It's a complex ethical and societal challenge with no easy answers, demanding constant reevaluation and careful application.
So with all this contention, all these nuanced interpretations, are there any institutions actively working to defend free speech from all sides, or to at least uphold the constitutional ideal amidst all this noise?
Absolutely there are. The Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, or FIRE, is a very prominent and influential example.
FIRE. I've heard of them.
Co-founded in 1999, FIRE is dedicated to challenging restrictions on First Amendment rights, particularly on college campuses. They've been instrumental in highlighting and successfully altering policies related to campus free speech zones, which they argue are unconstitutional limitations on expression.
The zones where you're allowed to protest.
Exactly. FIRE has initiated numerous high-profile lawsuits and extensive advocacy efforts, leading to significant changes in campus policies across the country. They also release annual college free speech rankings.
Oh, interesting. Ranking colleges on speech.
Providing a crucial comparative look at the free speech environments at America's top universities, serving as both a guide and a critique.
That's incredibly valuable work, offering concrete action in an often abstract debate. Can you give us some specific examples of FIRE's advocacy in action?
Certainly. FIRE has been quite active. For instance, they actively oppose the Education Department's controversial Dear Colleague letter on sexual assault cases.
Right, the standard of evidence debate.
Arguing against its recommendation for universities to use a preponderance of the evidence standard rather than the higher beyond a reasonable doubt standard, asserting that it compromised due process.
A legal standards fight.
They've also consistently defended professors and students against disciplinary actions stemming from their speech, even if controversial.
Regardless of the viewpoint.
That's their stated mission. A notable case involved representing conservative students whose anti-communism flyers were removed from campus bulletin boards at Clovis Community College, demonstrating their commitment to defending individual expression across a spectrum of viewpoints.
So focusing on the principle, not the content.
Focusing squarely on the principle itself rather than the content of the speech. Their efforts truly underscore a dedication to safeguarding fundamental expressive freedoms regardless of political alignment.
This ongoing battle for free speech, so starkly underscored by the legacy of Charlie Kirk and the broader societal tensions we've explored, naturally leads us to a crucial, perhaps even urgent question about the very infrastructure of our digital conversations.
Yeah, where do these conversations even happen?
Exactly. How can we truly reclaim our voice online when the rules are constantly shifting and the platforms are controlled by others? This brings us directly to the promise and potential of the decentralized social network solution.
The alternative path.
We've all felt it, haven't we? That pervasive, often unsettling feeling that our online lives, our digital identities, and our data are effectively controlled by a handful of massive corporations.
The tech giants, Facebook, Twitter, etc.
Think about platforms like Facebook, MySpace, and Orkut in their time. While they connected millions, they also inadvertently created what are termed information silos.
Walled gardens.
Our personal data isn't easily shared or moved between services, and we have remarkably limited control over how our personal information is collected, used, and disseminated.
Yeah, your data isn't really yours.
This has led to significant and well-documented privacy concerns, from Facebook's infamous beacon feature to MySpace image leaks, and even child stalking concerns. It's a fundamental vulnerability built into the system.
What's truly problematic and, frankly, deeply disempowering is the arbitrary enforcement of platform policies. As users, we're effectively bound by these platforms' ever-evolving terms of service.
That nobody reads.
Right, with powerful executives holding what is essentially sole access to data and the capability to enforce arbitrary decisions.
Arbitrary being the key word.
Absolutely. This absolute control extends to how content is moderated, often without transparent recourse, and how powerful algorithms curate our news feeds.
The algorithm. The mysterious force.
These algorithms often prioritize the interests of advertisers or optimize for specific engagement models, like those that drive emotional reactions or rage.
Rage clicks.
Rather than prioritizing user autonomy or diverse exposure. This dynamic has led to what some describe as a tech oligarchy, where algorithms create siloed echo chambers and engage in what's effectively digital manipulation of human nature, steering public discourse in ways users often don't even perceive.
That's a pretty damning assessment.
It's a powerful argument for a fundamental shift in how we approach online interaction and data ownership.
So if that's the deeply problematic landscape we're currently navigating, what then is the promise, the potential of decentralized social networks? This truly sounds like a massive paradigm shift, a fundamental reimagining of the internet itself.
It is indeed a revolutionary vision. The core idea for something like Web 4, passionately championed by Linkspreed, is to build an internet rooted in social networks where individuals, communities, and brands can create their own digital space, totally customized for what they need and what they believe in.
Your own digital space.
Imagine an internet where you truly own your digital town square, where you set the rules and your data is unequivocally yours. It's about fundamentally altering the power dynamic from corporate giants back to the individual.
Wow. That vision alone is incredibly compelling. So for me, the user, what are the key benefits? What does this promise translate into in terms of practical control and freedom?
Firstly, and perhaps most importantly, it's about data sovereignty and radical user control.
Data sovereignty. I like the sound of that.
You, the user, gain significantly more control over your own data, your privacy settings, and the applications you choose to use, freeing you from the arbitrary decisions made by centralized services. Your data isn't locked away on someone else's server. It resides with you.
Okay. Benefit one.
Yeah.
Control. What else?
Secondly, these networks are built on genuinely open technologies like linked data, semantic web ontologies, and open single sign-on identity system.
Okay, that sounds technical. Break that down.
Sure. Linked data and semantic web ontologies are essentially frameworks that allow data from different sources to be connected and understood by machines, creating a truly smart and interconnected web. It uses URIs, uniform resource identifiers, which are like unique internet addresses, not just for websites, but for any piece of information.
So not just web pages.
Exactly, making everything seamlessly interconnected and securely shareable. This open architecture means your data isn't locked away in a proprietary format.
Portability.
Exactly. And finally, customization. You gain a much higher degree of customization for both applications and interfaces. You can create truly unique homepages and control your news feeds with incredibly fine-grained access policies.
Fine-grained control.
Deciding precisely what information you share with whom and under what conditions.
This truly sounds revolutionary. But how do you actually do this? How does a regular person, someone without a computer science degree, realistically build and manage their own social network? Is it incredibly complicated, or is this truly accessible?
It's far more accessible than you might initially think, and that's the genius of it. Linkspreed offers a solution called Web 4 at Home.
Web 4 at Home. Okay.
Which is a community-driven initiative specifically designed to empower individuals like you to build and host your very own social network using remarkably affordable hardware.
Affordable hardware, like...
The little guy that makes this possible, the powerhouse for your independent network, is a Raspberry Pi.
A Raspberry Pi. That tiny credit card-sized computer, I've definitely heard of those in passing, often in hobbyist projects.
Exactly. They're incredibly versatile, available for as little as 20
€20.
Seriously? Seriously. And believe it or not, this tiny device can become the robust server for your entire independent social network. The setup process is remarkably straightforward, designed for accessibility.
Okay, walk me through it briefly.
First, you prepare the Pi with a light version of an operating system using a tool called the Raspberry Pi Imager. You'll set up a username and password, but here's the most critical part for security and remote management. You must enable SSH.
SSH, Secure Shell.
Right. This creates a secure, encrypted connection, allowing you to control and manage your Pi remotely and safely, preventing unauthorized access to your private network.
Got it. Secure access is key.
Crucial. Once that foundational operating system and secure remote access are established, you then deploy the Web 4 at Home or Web 4 Lite open source software by simply cloning its GitHub repository and following a clear set of configuration instructions.
Clone from GitHub, so it's open source.
Yes, the core software is open source.
So I've got my own personal server running at home, powered by this tiny Raspberry Pi. But then comes the crucial question of accessibility and security. How do I let the rest of the world visit my social network safely without just broadcasting my home IP address to everyone? which sounds like a major security headache.
That's where a Cloudflare tunnel comes in, and it's an ingeniously simple solution to understand. Think of it like setting up a secret, super secure mailbox downtown.
Okay, I like the analogy.
Instead of publicly displaying your home's actual address, which would be risky, you give everyone a key to this very secure mailbox. Cloudflare then manages that mailbox for you, and critically, it creates a private, encrypted tunnel directly from that mailbox to your home network.
So Cloudflare handles the public-facing part.
Exactly. This setup is absolutely amazing for security. It keeps your public IP address completely private, meaning no one can directly see or target your home network, effectively shielding it from direct exposure while still allowing secure access to your social network.
That sounds fantastic for security and privacy, eliminating a huge barrier. But I imagine, as with any robust security system, there's a specific process to ensure it's truly locked down. Does it just work instantly? Or are there specific steps to ensure that end-to-end security is established and any errors are resolved?
You've hit on a crucial point about achieving maximum security. When you try to lock things down for total end-to-end encryption, you might initially encounter the dreaded bad gateway error.
The 502 bad gateway, I know it well.
We all do. This simply means that while your users can securely get to that Cloudflare mailbox, the secret tunnel leading back to your house isn't properly locked on your end yet, or the key isn't being used correctly.
Okay, so how do you fix it?
The goal, as you noted, is total end-to-end security, where the connection is encrypted from the user's browser through Cloudflare all the way to your Raspberry Pi. To fix this, there are 4 key steps.
4 steps. Lay them out.
First, you need to enable encryption directly on your server itself. Second, you get a free, unique security certificate from Cloudflare. Think of this as a special, verifiable digital key.
The certificate, like for HTTPS.
Yeah, exactly. Third, you tell your server how to recognize and use that specific key. And finally, you configure Cloudflare to only accept connections that present and correctly use that trusted certificate. This is like putting matching high-security locks on both ends of the tunnel and ensuring only the right key works.
Lock it down tight.
Once you set the encryption mode to full strict, the connection is fully encrypted end-to-end, and that frustrating bad gateway error is history. Your network is now secure, private, and yours.
That's a really clear explanation, demystifying what sounds like very complex technical steps. So beyond just the Web4 at home open source option for self-hosting, is there a broader ecosystem being built around this decentralized vision? What else does Linkspreed envision?
Yes, Linkspreed is building out a comprehensive, ambitious ecosystem that goes far beyond just the self-hosted solution. Beyond the free, self-hosted Web4 open source version, they also offer Web4 SaaS.
SaaS software as a service.
Right, social networks as a service. This is a cloud-based solution where they handle all the technical aspects for those who prefer an easier, managed setup without the need for a Raspberry Pi at home.
So options for different technical levels.
Precisely. What's even more impressive is the deep integration across their offerings. AI is baked right into the core, offering powerful B2B tools like customer relationship management, CRM, and project management solutions.
Business tools, too.
Alongside B2C apps like Origin, with new applications released monthly. The vision is a truly seamless, interconnected ecosystem where your community data flows automatically and securely into your business and personal tools.
That's ambitious.
They're even developing an ambitious hardware line called WEX, which stands for the Web4 Ecosystem Experience.
WEX hardware, like what?
This includes everything from affordable Web4 phones designed to act as your personal, portable server, giving you sovereign control over your mobile data.
Your phone is your server.
That's the idea. To high-performance devices and notebooks, and even a secure identity card that aims to completely eliminate the need for traditional passwords across the entire ecosystem.
Wow. No more passwords.
The ultimate goal is to totally decentralize the web by turning everyday devices into personal servers, truly giving you total ownership and control over your digital life.
This truly sounds like a robust, technical solution for achieving genuine digital autonomy, putting the power back into the hands of individuals. But, as we've discussed, technology is only half the battle, right?
Absolutely right.
How do you cultivate a thriving, engaging community in a decentralized space once you've built it? It's one thing to have the platform, it's another to have people connect on it.
You are absolutely right. Effective and thoughtful community management is vital, truly the other half of the equation. Technology provides the platform, but human interaction, nurturing, and strategic engagement are what ultimately build and sustain a vibrant community.
So, What are the key strategies?
One key strategy right from the start is to seed content. Before your new members even arrive, prepare 10 to 15 open-ended discussion threads with interesting questions or topics.
Don't launch an empty site.
Exactly. This prevents that initial ghost town feeling, giving new visitors immediate points of entry for conversation.
That makes perfect sense. You don't want people showing up to an empty, silent room. You can be a real deterrent.
Precisely. After seeding content, the next crucial step is to foster a warm welcome culture. This means sending personal greetings to new members, providing clear start guides, and suggesting simple, low-barrier first tasks like introducing themselves in a dedicated "Hello, I'm new" thread.
Make people feel welcome immediately.
Yes. Introducing special events is also incredibly effective for boosting activity and encouraging return visits. Think about hosting Ask Me Anything sessions with relevant experts, organizing weekly themed discussions, or even virtual coffee breaks where people can just chat informally.
Keep things fresh.
The true strength of any community comes from member-to-member exchange, so actively encourage networking and always ask open-ended questions that invite deeper participation.
Yep, talking to each other.
Utilizing engaging visual content images, GIFs, videos, and incorporating gamification elements, such as points, badges, or friendly competitions, can also significantly increase activity and retention.
Make it fun.
But perhaps most importantly, and this cannot be stressed enough, be authentic and genuinely human in all your interactions. Avoid robotic responses or corporate marketing jargon. Communicate with humor, empathy, and personality. That's how real, lasting communities truly thrive and flourish in any digital space.
Be human. Seems simple, but crucial.
Fundamentally crucial.
What an incredible journey we've taken today. We started by delving into the life and profound impact of Charlie Kirk, a figure whose passionate, often provocative advocacy for free speech became a central point of national discussion, especially after his tragic assassination.
Yeah, a real focal point.
We saw how his passing ignited intense, often deeply painful debates about the very boundaries of expression, the swift consequences of online speech, and the harsh realities of political polarization in our digital age.
Indeed. As our sources showed, free speech is a profoundly complex ideal, constantly debated, challenged, and often conflated with freedom from consequences.
Right.
The rise of centralized digital platforms has concentrated immense power into the hands of a few, leading to fundamental questions about who truly controls the narrative, whose voices are amplified, and whose are silenced.
A huge concentration of power.
It's a tension between the constitutional ideal of free expression and the undeniable realities of modern corporate and algorithmic influence.
But this deep dive isn't just about identifying problems or merely lamenting the challenges. It also highlights powerful, tangible solutions available right now.
Which is the hopeful part.
Exactly. Just as Charlie Kirk, in his own distinct way, found radical approaches to create platforms for his discourse, you too can embrace the future of self-hosted social networks.
You can build your own.
By leveraging open-source tools and affordable hardware like the Raspberry Pi, you can build and truly own your digital space, ensuring genuine control over your online identity, your data, and your interactions.
Taking back control.
It's about taking back the digital town square, one personal server at a time, ensuring that your voice, whatever its content, can be heard on your terms, without fear of arbitrary deplatforming or censorship. It's about not just speaking freely, but speaking truly freely by owning the medium.
And that leads us to a provocative thought for you, our listener, to deeply mull over. In a world where speech can be both a powerful force for change and a source of deep division, and where the platforms for that speech are increasingly controlled by a few unelected tech giants. Yeah.
What personal responsibility do you have? Not just to speak freely, but to actively ensure the integrity and independence of the very platforms where those crucial conversations happen. The freedom to speak is one thing. The freedom to own your platform, to control your digital destiny, might just be the next most vital frontier in democratic expression and individual liberty.